Welcome to another episode of Founders Club. Today, we're going to be interviewing Jess Lenouvel. She has been in the real estate business for 13 years. Over the last 5 years of her career, she's done over 300 million in sales with a small boutique team. And she's also the founder of the Listings Lab. Today, we're going to be breaking down some of her top tips for building a 7-figure real estate business, how she uses psychology and advanced tactics in her marketing to improve conversions, and the power of being polarizing. If you have any questions, put them in the box down below. As always, make sure you judo chop that like button. And if you like money and you like real estate, this is the show for you. Hit that subscribe button and we'll see you on the inside. Welcome to Founders Club, the show for real estate entrepreneurs. We are live here with Jess Lenouvel, who is a top producing real estate agent for many, many years, sold $300+ million in a 5-year period, and excited to talk to you. You're also the founder of the Listings Lab. So I want to talk definitely all about that in terms of just the things that you're doing right now to help these agents scale bigger businesses, go from, 100,000 a year to $1 million a year, which I know you were successful at also for many years. But before we dive into all that, why don't we just start with kind of your background and how you got into the game?
Yeah, for sure. So I kind of grew up in the industry. My mom has actually been a real estate agent for 35 years. I got my license fresh out of school. So I was 21, didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. Built that business mostly using Facebook originally. And then eventually built a multi-7-figure, very lean team. Started the Listings Lab about 4 years ago. We've grown that a lot. I don't sell anymore. But yeah, so I just recently, fun fact, I just recently moved to the Bahamas about 3 weeks ago.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Where?
So I'm in Eleuthera. So it's the 4th largest out island.
So what prompted that move? I'm a big travel guy, so I'm curious.
Yeah. So there were a couple things. Weather. So definitely weather. I just didn't really feel like I had any more winters in me. My husband and I have both always known that we wanted to end up somewhere tropical. So it was proximity to family. It's only a 2.5, 3-hour flight from here home. Weather, time zone was really important to us. Like we looked at everything. We even looked at Thailand, but we just couldn't make it work with the time zone. And taxes. So we looked at all of those things and we realized that this was home.
Yeah, why not? Very cool. Are you worried about hurricanes at all? No, pretty safe down there.
No. Yeah, I mean, our house is pretty solid. And if we had a big one coming, we're lucky enough to be able to, we have the means to get out quickly.
To vacate. Okay, cool. So back to, I want to kind of go through your journey as a producer. So, your first year in the business, kind of tell me how that went. And then tell me how you were able to, let's talk about how you scaled up from there.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a long time ago. I remember sitting on my couch with this little, I don't know why, that was the period of time when electronics got really small for a period of time. So I had this teeny little laptop that I thought was so cool because it fit in my purse. But I was sitting there with this little tiny little laptop and I went on Facebook and I realized, because my mom had been in the business for so long, we had essentially completely overlapping spheres. And my sphere didn't want to work with me. They wanted to work with her. So I didn't have the ability to grow my business the way that, all the brokerages were spouting at the time. So I made the decision to try to figure out how to do things on my own. I was being taught to cold call and door knock and direct mail and all of those things. I'm actually naturally pretty shy. I consider myself to be really introverted, and it didn't feel good to me. I just was like, if this is how if this is how I have to build my business, I don't know that this business is for me. So I really tried to find a solution to how I could do it my way. There was this brand new thing called Facebook. And I just started building relationships. I started having conversations with people. Back then, there was no marketplace. It was just classifieds. And I just started talking to people about, their abilities, like their buying power and, what issues they were having. And I created some assets after I'd had enough conversations, some things like some little packages that I could send to people. That's really how I originally built my business, was just giving value. And then eventually people would say, well, you've been so helpful. Can you help us? And
so that's you kind of scrapped it together at the beginning. It sounds like
totally.
Yeah. And then, so what was like the next phase of that? Like, what was your first big break or your kind of first transition to the next level?
So, I mean, I did 6 figures in my first year. And, a lot of it was just hustle. I was hungry. I was 21, but I looked about 16. So I definitely had to build a lot of rapport before I actually ended up in person with anyone, because I had a lot of pushback from people saying, oh my gosh, like, how old are you? There were a couple of deals that I brought my mom into that I just said, hey, if, me looking so young is an issue, like, she's been in the business for 20 years. So, like I definitely was lucky that I had that to pull from. And then, I mean, everything just sort of, I was a solid low six figure agent for many years. I just sort of did what I did and got referrals and, worked my sphere as much as I could after I started like building a reputation. But I think it was probably maybe 4 or 5 years in, maybe a little longer. I decided that if I was really going to do this, that I wanted to kick it up a notch and I wanted to see what I could do. I think that the biggest thing that shifted for me was I stopped just looking at myself as someone who sold real estate. And I really started looking at myself as like, okay, how can I identify and learn more and become a marketer? It really helped when I first met my husband. He's super marketing focused. He just has one of those brains. And we just started listening to everything. We started learning from everywhere that we could possibly find. We started really doing research on what was working in other industries, because I always sort of have found that real estate tends to be a little bit behind from a trends standpoint. So we started looking at other industries, started bringing things from other service-based industries into real estate, testing them. A lot of the stuff that we did along the way wouldn't work now. Like, there was a period of time when I had 40 landing pages up. We were bringing in leads from a lot of different places in a lot of different ways. We tested a lot of stuff. We wasted a lot of money along the way. It definitely wasn't like a smooth process, but eventually we really figured it out and we found our stride. We built a very lean multi-7-figure team that, we kind of had a tap that essentially we could turn on and off. Yeah. And it's just sort of expanded from there. Even some of the stuff that we're teaching today in our programs, they're not things that I did or I used, because the trends have changed. And what's truly effective, it changes, and it changes over time. And if you're not adapting to it, you're falling behind.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to that a lot, because that was one of the big ways that we built our business, was really taking a lot of the things from our background as like internet marketers and building websites, things like that in like the early 2000s, and just leveraging those techniques into the real estate space allowed us to just be early and, make a lot of things happen before the rest of the crowd got there.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. So then you're building your business. Tell me about like the transition into leaving the business then, right?
Yeah.
You went and started the listings lab and kind of talked about what that transition was like and why you chose to do that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I had a bit of an existential crisis. I was in my mid 30s or maybe early 30s, and I don't know. They say that women don't have midlife crises, but I definitely had one. And I really didn't know. I was looking at things and thinking I wasn't feeling challenged by my business as much as I had in the past. I felt a little bit like I was serving the wrong people. I love real estate. I love selling real estate, but there was just something that really lit me up when somebody would come and like knock on my door and say, "Hey, can you help me?" I would drop everything, much to everyone else on my team's, dismay. I would drop everything and I would sit with them and try to work with them on their business. And what I realized was, from a long-term happiness standpoint, I was really looking in another direction. It was the scariest thing I've ever done. Everybody told me I was crazy. Everyone was like, "You have figured it out. You've spent how many years building this business, and you're telling me now, okay, great, I want to do something else."
Right. Yeah.
But
you're making millions of dollars.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And I was traveling all the time. And what I realized was I was like, I don't know. I feel like I'm not doing the right thing anymore. And I can't explain it more than that. It was really just like a feeling of like being unsettled. And then we made the decision. I made the decision. My poor husband, he is just, along for the ride sometimes. And I made the decision that I wanted to shift over. I'd taken coaching programs and things like that, but I definitely wasn't like immersed in like the training industry. And yeah, I mean, we moved to LA for 6 months so that I could be around the people who were really at the forefront of digital marketing, like innovation at the time. We moved to LA. I met a whole bunch of people. I learned a tremendous amount really quickly. We set up the listings lab, and then it's just kind of we've just gone from there.
I like that. So talk to me about what's your formula for success for real estate agents? Let's break that down.
Yeah. So I think that really what sets us apart is we really focus on the psychology of marketing, like the human psychology of getting someone from stranger to client. And so a lot of what we focus on is inbound business. It's not the generate some business, generate some leads, then, pound the phones. I think there's a lot of, and I've been one of those people. I think there's a lot of really burnt out agents out there because they're building their business based on this chasing mentality. So, from a personal philosophy standpoint, it was really important to me that I was helping agents build not only the businesses, the big 7-figure businesses, but also the 7-figure businesses that served the lifestyle that most of them wanted. Most people, I think, get into real estate for, unlimited income, freedom of their own schedule, and wanting to help people. And a lot of the time they get, they become the bottleneck in the business. They become a little bit of a slave to their phones and to the clients that they're working with. So it was really important to me that I was teaching people how to build something that was truly scalable and, in a way that felt good. That there wasn't a lot of like sleazy tactics or people, and most of the people that I've attracted and I've worked with over the last 4 years have been people who, maybe are a little bit introverted or, maybe not, they're not the social butterflies that are out there all the time, but they, they're really good at what they do. They just needed a more scalable, like that one-to-many marketing approach so that they could get in front of more people.
What's a good tip for the introverts out there?
Video is your friend. I know that you don't like it. I know that you don't like it. I used to film my videos on the roof of the building that I lived on so that nobody could see me. But at the end of the day, what would you rather have to do? Have 1,000 conversations or do one video?
Yeah. So let's talk. Okay. So on that note, are there like certain videos that you would recommend that people have in their bank, or are you just talking about kind of creating content for social?
Yeah. So So there's a couple ways we do this. We teach both the organic marketing side, so like your organic social media side of things, but we also teach the paid traffic. I'm a really big believer that don't throw money at something unless it's worked organically. So, I think there's a lot of people throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall, but once you've actually been able to build some marketing, build some content that's bringing you business, then you know that it's working, it's vetted. And then at that point, you can put some fuel on the fire in terms of actually running some paid traffic behind that content. So really we really focus in on, like I said, the psychology of getting someone from stranger to client. So instead of just generating a whole bunch of leads, then a lot of the focus of what we do happens after someone becomes a lead or after someone is in your world. We really want to make sure that we're giving those people everything that they need to see at the consistency and the frequency that they need to see it in order for them to say, hey, I've seen your stuff, come list my house. And it eliminates a lot of competition. It creates a much more scalable business. And I find that it just breeds happier agents.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like it because it does help on the lifestyle side too. Just the more videos you make, the more of those types of content pieces you have out there. It's like each one is another net in the water. And, just like everything, the more nets you have in the water, the more attention you get, the more leads you get, the more clients you get. One thing I keep hearing you say that I like is turning strangers into clients. So talk to me about some tips on what that looks like.
So it would take me a while to go through our full 9-point psychological journey, but if I'm going to simplify it, I would simplify it down into 3 things or 3 buckets of content that you absolutely want to be rotating frequently. So authority content, and I'll go through each one of these. So authority content, personal content, and social proof. So your authority content is going to be the stuff that sets you up as an authority, gives you the credibility. It's going to be trainings, tips and tricks. Basically, if you have a client that asks you a question, the answer to that question is content. Because you want to set yourself up as a valued resource that is actually able to explain as opposed to just do. So the more that you can speak to pain points and problems, instead of just posting infographics of market stats, can you interpret the data for your audience? Can you explain to them, okay, what does this actually mean for you? All of that falls into your authority content category. Now, the piece that I think most agents are missing is actually personal content. And, we talk all the time in marketing about building that know, like, and trust. How can you know someone, like someone, and trust someone if you don't know anything about them? So a lot of that comes down to, personal beliefs, personal philosophy, personal story. If you have a dog that you're obsessed with, your audience should know the name of your dog. They should feel somewhat connected to you. We want to create the kind of relationship where if someone sees you in a grocery store, that they're totally fine to come up to you and have that quick conversation. It's this approachable celebrity, this influential approachableness that we're really looking for. And people make decisions first, then they back the decision up with logic. So your social proof and your authority content is actually the second piece of someone's decision that they are interested. The first piece is going to be that emotional component, which always happens through personal stuff. And then your third piece would be your social proof. So this is not, and I want to be very clear, not just listed, just sold, under contracts, stuff like that. It's case studies, testimonials, and media or PR. And, what we want to do is, and I use HGTV as an example of this all the time. We've all binge watched or gotten pulled into some HGTV show at some point. And that entire network is case studies. It's, it doesn't matter if you want to live the Caribbean life or you want to love it or list it or whatever you're thinking about doing. You watch these shows and you live vicariously through these people, and they show you that you can do it too. And so telling the stories of your clients not only gives you the credibility that you're able to take someone from, where they are to where they want to be, but you're also actually tooting your own horn, talking about your services, without ever being that agent that's saying, look at me, I'm the best.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I like a couple of things you say there. One was interpret the data,
Yeah.
because I see a lot of agents just posting market stats and
Yeah.
this, that, and the other. And like, that's cool, but you can really connect with people when you, like you said, give your take on the data.
Yeah.
And you could do that in a lot of different ways. You could do that in a written social media post. You could do that in your monthly, video market update. You could create a 60-second Instagram reel with a headline behind you, on the green screen mode, and just do, a 60-second, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what I think is going to happen next. Here's some options for you if you're thinking about this or that. And then that really kind of deepens the content, as opposed to just, here, look at these market stats.
Because most people don't know what the numbers even mean. Right. We have someone who's been in our programs for a couple of years, and he does a weekly market report. I think he's on week 102, I think, this week. Nice. And he gets a ton of business because he interprets the data. Yep. Right. He talks about what is being talked about in the media, and, what's true and what's not, and, what's happening and where the trends are going. And, sometimes just as simple, as simple a line as, if you have a strange, maybe in a typical market, this could be a hard house to sell. It's quirky, this is your market. Like, identifying somebody and saying, hey, if this is you, this is your time. Tons of business can come from that. And people feel like they're like, oh, that's me. My house is weird, but I loved it when I bought it, but it's it definitely falls into the quirky category. I should at least have the conversation.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think that's really good, and that's a great tip. I also like what you said about becoming the what do you call it? The approachable celebrity.
Yeah.
So it's not like the look at me and look at how amazing I am content. It's the content that makes you more relatable to other people, like you playing with your dog, you playing with your kids, you on a vacation, you just doing business, stuff like that, your day-to-day, walking through houses, things like that.
Yeah, you can use social media essentially as your own little mini reality TV show. And, people get so caught up in the vanity metrics of how many views am I getting and how many followers do I have? But let's say 200 people, 300 people are watching your Instagram stories every day. Mm-hmm. Imagine 300 people in a room listening to you talk every day.
Yeah.
That's actually quite a bit of impact. Definitely. And so, when we stop looking at these numbers that feed the ego, and we start really looking at, okay, how can if I want to do an extra 100 deals this year, I don't need to appeal to or connect with 5,000. I only need 100.
Right.
And really narrowing it down and becoming super relevant to those people, creating content for those people, talking to them, connecting, reply to if you're running ads, reply to the comments on your ads. If you post something and someone comments, take an extra second and actually reply or send a direct message or connect with your audience in a way that they feel connected to you, so that you're not just some unapproachable person that they follow online, and then you say something annoying and then, they're fickle and they unfollow you. People move every 3 to 7 years, depending on your market. And if you're only posting about real estate and it's only real estate, there's nothing personal, there's no emotional buy-in, then you're going to have a lot of audience churn, because you're only going to be relevant to those people every 3 to 7 years. You have to give people a reason to follow you in between.
Yeah. And I think just to add to that, I think what makes us lucky on that note is we have cool jobs that are easy to,
document.
Easy to document. Like, most people, they're sitting in a cubicle all day, or they're working out of their spare bedroom in in their dark closet or whatever. And We're out there, we're looking at properties, we're putting deals together, we're looking at brand new flips as they hit the market. So there's so many just cool things that we come across every day that people would be interested in, that it's just easy to document. If you just pull your phone out and, do it a couple times a day.
And your content doesn't have to be so overproduced. I actually think that most agents overproduce a lot of their video content out of fear of judgment, right? It's more ego-based than it is effective. I think that, if somebody asks you a really great question in a showing, go and sit in your car and pull out your phone and answer that question in a video. Content can be very easy to create. And especially if you're creating volumes of it, it can get very expensive, very time consuming, and very overwhelming to try to make everything perfect.
Yeah, totally agree. I want to pick on something you said right there as well. In terms of just people being worried about what they're putting out there.
Yeah.
And something that I saw you say that I like is ditch the fear of being polarizing. I think people have a real mental block with that, and cancel culture and all that other stuff.
Everyone's afraid of saying the wrong thing.
Yeah. So talk to me about that.
So when we're talking online or in marketing in general, you'll hear sometimes people talk about like find your tribe, right? And a lot of that comes down to being polarizing. And it comes down to saying the thing that you think, but don't say because you're trying to appeal to the masses. And I would rather have 1,000 people who absolutely love me than have 100,000 people that could kind of take or leave me. Right. And so, there's been books written about it. I think that I don't know who, I read a book once a long time ago about having 100 or 1,000 raving fans. That's what you want. That's what's going to explode your business, because you're not just you're not adding to all the noise. You're not just another agent that's saying the same old stuff. People actually feel resonance and connection with you because of something that you've said or a stance that you've taken, or, those kinds of things make a really big difference in terms of building trust.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's just a big mental block there.
It's hard. There's nothing easy about it.
Yeah. So can you address that, the mental block, and kind of how you would push through that, or how you could do it in a tasteful way?
For sure. I mean, there's definitely, there's always going to be the person who is going to be super obnoxious and outspoken. That doesn't have to be you. Leave that for someone else, right? Yeah. You can just, you can talk, you can respectfully have, if there's something political that's going on that you want to comment on. I usually stay away from politics or religion. But if it's a huge part of who you are and you only want to work with certain people who have the same viewpoints as you, all the power to you. Absolutely go for it. But, I even mean pulling back the curtain a little bit, right? Myth busting, I think, is an incredible way to build trust and to show the things that you feel strongly about, right? An example of myth busting content would be something like the truth behind open houses. Why do agents really do open houses in some markets, right? Open houses in a lot of markets don't sell houses.
Yeah.
But they really help agents generate more business. And if you're forthcoming about it, people will say, oh, this person's kind of like a lighthouse, right? They're going to tell me the truth. I can trust this person. Even another example would be sold over asking, right? What does that really mean? I saw a sign, and I used this example a couple of times before. I saw a sign walking down the street before I moved here that said sold 146% over asking. And, the average person may think, oh my gosh, that agent sold that house for 146% over market value. We all know that's not true, right. But they don't know that. They may not know that, right? So, really kind of shedding light on, okay, when I see something like that, this is what I think. That house was underpriced. That agent didn't, whatever that is, right?
I like myth busting. I like that.
Yeah, and I think that really, it's really one of those things that people will then see you as the truth teller.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that there's something incredibly powerful in that, because really what we're really trying, like that's the trust part. If somebody sees you as, and you may, as someone who they can trust and they can believe in, and it's going to tell them how it is. Now, you may upset some agents along the way, but at the end of the day, you know, your audience will really see you as, you know, not just any other agent that's saying the same old stuff.
Yeah, I like that. I like be a lighthouse. That's good. All right, let me shift gears a little bit because I know you coach quite a few agents, and you did have, you know, a very successful real estate career yourself. So why don't you talk about some of the top strategies that your students are using right now that are working really well?
Yeah, I mean, consistency on social media with a targeted demographic. You know, like, are you focused on upsizers, downsizers, first-time buyers, the LGBTQ community, whatever your niche is that you really want to dominate? Make sure that you're regularly doing market research interviews. Whenever somebody says to me, my content isn't really hitting the mark as well as it used to, my first question is, when's the last time you interviewed? Because you can be the best copywriter in the world, but you can't create desire in a marketplace. You can only illuminate it. So they're going to give you all of the information. The best example I can give, or the simplest way of looking at this, is so many agents are sitting and looking across the street at Mary sitting on the park bench across the street and thinking, I wonder what Mary wants for lunch, instead of just crossing the street and going and asking Mary what she wants for lunch. Right? Like, your market is going to give you the answers to all of the marketing information that you need if you just ask them. And so I think a lot of the time it's the market research that's missing. So niche down, market research, create some psychology in your marketing: pains, problems, fears, and desires. That's what you need to get really clear on in order to create effective marketing. All sales is where are you now? Where do you want to be? Right? So problem, solution. It doesn't matter if you're selling a scarf in the town square in medieval times, right? Like, sales doesn't change, and the psychology of sales doesn't change. It's just really a matter of, do you understand what's driving your clients' moves? People don't move because it's fun. People move because there's something in their current situation that's not serving them. And they think that they can make their life better with this move. And so, you know, an upsizer has very different pain points than a downsizer. So focus on, who do you want to target? Who do you want to fill your business with? This will not impact any of the rest of your business. Your repeats and your referrals and all of that they'll still come to you. You'll, like, that part of your business will still be sound. But I'm really just talking about, like, if you want to add double or triple the amount of business and you want it to come from marketing, then you have to niche. Because if you don't, your messaging will always be vague. And you'll get filtered out with the rest of the real estate noise.
Yeah, I think that was a really, excuse me. I think that was a really powerful way that you broke it down there, because in marketing, right, we always want to speak to our customer avatar. So if you're working with more upsizers or more downsizers, to use your example, they have totally different wants, needs, and then going back to your 4 things: pains, problems, fears, and desires. If you just learn those 4 things for whatever market you're trying to go after, or you're trying to serve, and then incorporate that into the marketing and speak that language and talk that talk and use that in your social media and in your flyers, your advertising, all that, it's going to go a lot way. Your conversions are going to go way up.
Absolutely. And, you know, if there's one skill set that you want to work on, it's learn how to tell stories. Become a good storyteller. Stories are 22 times more memorable than facts. And so you can throw as many facts as you want at someone and tell people what to do and what not to do and all of those things. But if you can tell a story that someone is going to remember, that is always going to be the most powerful way of doing things. Again, it comes back to case studies and being able to tell and create and craft a good case study. It gets the emotions going, right? There's a reason why, right? There's a reason why Super Bowl commercials make us cry. It's on purpose.
Yeah, very true. So do you have an example of what like a good case study would include or would look like?
It really depends on like what part of your process or your business you want to highlight. I'll give you an example. So I have an agent who I've been working with for a couple of years. She does about 250 million in production every year. And most of it comes from social media. And the reason why she gets so much of it is because her case studies are so good. And so let's say that for one case study, she wants to focus in on marketing. She'll break down the demographic of the person. So she doesn't have to give it like personal information from her clients, because I know that's something that people get worried about. Sometimes she'll just tell the story of the property as opposed to telling the story of the person. And she'll, break down how they marketed it, what the results of the marketing were, how many views, how many clicks, how many booked showings, how many offers. And she'll break down the numbers, then she'll interpret the data and explain why it worked, what the thought process was behind it. So she's pulling back the curtain and people are saying, oh my gosh, this was so well thought out and so well crafted. And I want her to do that with my house.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I think a lot of people are afraid to do that because they don't want to give up their secret sauce or whatever.
No one's going to be able to do it on their own.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like In-N-Out is one of the biggest burger chains because of their secret sauce.
Yeah.
And it's probably just ketchup and mayonnaise, but you know
maybe
what I'm saying?
Some
like,
relish or something.
Even if you knew the formula, you're not going to go recreate an In-N-Out.
No.
So, you know what I'm saying? But what you do is you invite people into your world. You let people learn from you, but you become more of an expert. To your points earlier, you add that social proof, you gain credibility, and you do it in a way that's engaging and wrapping it into a story and interpreting the data. Mm-hmm. And you'll be spitting out some really good content.
And you can be your own weird, quirky self. I always say, like, don't hide your weird, because people will gravitate towards it, right? Like if you are funny or silly or anything, people are not going to take you less seriously at the real estate side of things because you're fun.
Yeah.
In fact, they're probably going to connect with you a little bit more.
Yeah. In fact, the other fun people are just going to be more attracted to you.
And then they're going to want to you're going to have a business full of other fun people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. So I just have a couple more questions before we wrap up. What do you think is like some low-hanging fruit that people are missing? Like some real no-brainer stuff that agents can use to win?
I would say case studies. Even if you're not going to do a full psychological journey, put up some case studies, spend some time working on them. They don't have to be perfect. Perfection, honestly, in my opinion, is just procrastination. Just get some stuff out there. Start testing. You don't know what's going to work until you get some iterations going, right? So just because you put out a case study and it doesn't really do much, well, how can you do it better for the next one? Right? Sometimes people need to see something 6 or 7 times in order to then feel comfortable enough to reach out. I think the most important thing is figure out who you want to talk to first. Don't create content that is, not targeted. Who do you want to focus on? Who do you want to specialize in? And then everything will kind of follow.
Yeah, I love that advice. One of our mentors has always told us, don't try to be all things to all people.
Exactly.
You really want to just focus on targeting that person and then speaking their language, because that's going to just reduce, all the friction. It makes you look better. All the things we talked about earlier. For example, if you specialize in 1031 exchanges, then you should be making case studies around 1031 exchanges.
Exactly.
Interpreting data on 1031 exchanges, talking about the pros and cons of 1031 exchanges and all that stuff. And you could literally have a unlimited number of, content pieces just off just off that one niche.
Absolutely. And become a broken record.
Yeah.
Just like find your message, vet it, and use it. Like become known for something.
Yeah, exactly. Get on the horse and then ride that sucker.
Absolutely.
Cool. So a couple questions I like to ask all the guests as they come on. They're very entrepreneurial, successful, all of that. What are some things that you use in your daily life and business in terms of just apps, softwares, just things that you love that make your business better or life easier?
So ClickUp. We use ClickUp as our project management system. All of our team communication happens in Discord. So there's no texting or emailing or anything like that. 100% of our business communication happens in Discord. I love Discord. It's free. And you can have a lot of fun in there too. What else do I use on a regular basis? Blinkist. So
I don't know that one.
Yeah, so Blinkist is a program or a company that will give you short summaries of books. So let's say like I'm interested in possibly reading a new book, or I want the gist of it, but I don't want to read 400 pages of something.
Right.
Blinkist they break them down into what they call blinks. It's like $99 a year. The amount of research and, if I go through the blinks for a book and I think this is genius, I'll go back and I'll read the whole book. Right. Totally. But it allows me to actually take in more information faster. I love it.
Yeah, I like that a lot because a lot of times, you'll see like a Malcolm Gladwell book or something that's 400 pages and, a little more on the drier side, but just power packed full of amazing information. It might be a good idea to try the bite-sized version first.
It's kind of like Cliff's Notes. Did you ever use Cliff's Notes when you were in school?
Yeah, of course.
It's kind of like that, but it like breaks it down. Like they're just, it's so well done.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I like that. That's a good tip. And then ClickUp, I also, and Discord. So we'll check those out. I am a big fan of Discord myself. So that's cool to hear.
It's not just for the gamers and the crypto people.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So final question is, I have 2 young boys at home, and I always like to ask successful people what their advice would be to them and the next generation in terms of just how to be successful.
So my one-liner would be, results don't take time, they take courage.
Ooh, I like that. Can you break that down for me?
Yeah. So I think so often people think that they have to, we hear so often about like the 10,000 hours and like you have to, you've got to put in your time. And the truth really is it's the risks and the brave people and the people who are not afraid to be bold that end up moving forward. It's the getting over the fear of judgment, getting over the fear of video for some people. It's the taking the big leap or making the investment that you're scared to make. Just do the big, scary, hairy thing that is holding you back.
Yeah, I love that because most of the time the big, scary, hairy thing, once you get on top of it,
is not so scary.
Yeah,
exactly.
All right. Well, very cool. Definitely check out Jess's book, More Money, Less Hustle. I don't think it's out yet, but it's coming out very soon.
Yeah, the pre-orders are on there on Amazon now. So Amazon.com and .ca both have pre-orders for the ebook. The physical book will be out in May.
Awesome. Very exciting. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Definitely go check that out. We'll put all your social media information in there below as well.
Perfect.
And as usual, guys, if you like money and you like real estate, this is the show for you. Hit that subscribe button and we'll see you on the next one.